The Neuer Ter Stegen debate heats up. There's trouble at Spurs, UEFA announced a new competition, there's a transfer roundup, and this week's great debate, all coming up in the next few minutes as I'm your host, Matt Froelich. You are the Onefootballers, and this is the Daily News. First off, add to the debate between who is better as Germany's number one, Marc-Andre Ter Stegen or Manuel Neuer. At the moment, Jogi Löw is sticking with Manuel Neuer, and that is something that cannot change, according to Bayern Munich chairman Uli Hoeneß. Now, in all honesty, he's acting like a bit of a spoiled brat. The chairman has said that if things were to change and Marc-Andre Ter Stegen was to become the new German number one, he would potentially stop Bayern Munich players from going on international duty with Jogi Löw. As we know, Bayern Munich provide a few players for the German national squad, even if you take out the likes of Thomas Müller and Jerome Boateng. What it does show is that Bayern Munich almost have too much power if they can kind of call the shots against the German Football Association. We've all seen that both are brilliant goalkeepers, and no one would blame Jogi Löw for giving Marc-Andre Ter Stegen even just a few games in a couple of friendlies next month. Okay, he didn't have the greatest of performances last night as he let Santi Cazorla's shot go over sort of through his hand and into the back of the net, but Manuel Neuer's no saint either. Personally, I think both of them are great goalkeepers. I think Ter Stegen's a little bit better and a few years younger, but that really shouldn't stop a club being so petty, and especially someone who has such a long career in football. But what do you guys think of the debate? I'm going to leave a poll right about here so you guys can have your say who you'd have for number one at Germany, Neuer or Ter Stegen. In all honesty, it's probably not a bad decision to have, as both are pretty damn good. But moving away from German football for a minute and to the Carabao Cup action last night, where Spurs, shocking Tottenham Hotspur, lost to Colchester on penalty. This sums up a terrible few games for Spurs after losing a 2-0 lead against Olympiacos, then a 1-0 lead against Leicester, which they lost at the weekend, and now they only managed to muster 2 shots on target against a League 2 side in 90 minutes. And this, a Spurs team with a few youngsters, but also with a few top players, the likes of Dele Alli and Lucas Moura, both in the starting lineup. The problem is, though, it's not just last night's game for Tottenham. There's a whole range of troubles which Mauricio Pochettino seems to be unable to sort out. He said after the game that there were some differences in the squad that need to be sorted before they can go and push on. It seems to me that the project at Tottenham, which Mauricio Pochettino always refers to, has taken on a whole new mindset, and he hasn't quite been able to adapt to it just yet. I also blame the chairman, Daniel Levy, for really not putting his money where his mouth is and backing Mauricio Pochettino. It's now got to the point where, as the Argentinian mentions, there are so many players in the squad with so many different agendas. Jan Vertonghen, Toby Alderweireld and Christian Eriksen are all running out of contract. In my eyes, they'll probably let their contract run out, leave on a free next summer, just to show Daniel Levy what an absolute idiot he was by not signing them up to longer deals on the money that they deserved when they were at the top of their game. There's also players from the squad who are trying to come through, which is brilliant, but they can't always be relied on for the experience. There's wastes of players in the squad. Victor Wanyama is not good enough for Spurs. And then there's players who are at their peak and Spurs just cannot lose. The likes of Harry Kane, of course, as well as Hugo Lloris and a few others. This all spells trouble for Spurs. If they head out of the top 4, well, things will be looking even worse, and you can't expect Mauricio Pochettino or some of their key players to hang around for much longer. In the rest of the Carabao Cup action, though, Arsenal's Martinelli, the young forward, banged 2 goals past Nottingham Forest as they put in an excellent display to win 5-0. Danny Welbeck, the former Arsenal frontman, grabbed his first goal in 11 months as Watford won 2-1. The current holders Manchester City eased past Preston 3-0. And in the South Coast derby between Southampton and Portsmouth, Southampton ran absolutely riot, winning 4-0. But away from the action from last night into a rather interesting conference from UEFA yesterday, who announced there is to be a 3rd level European club competition from 2021. This will be called the UEFA Conference League. What it means, and bear with me because I'll try and explain it, is that there is a new qualification spot in the Premier League. Basically, this whole new conference thing means that teams from the top nations will only get 1 spot, and there'll be a lot more chances from teams from less highly ranked nations to try and gain a foothold on the European stage, gain some of the money and some of the attraction and some of the exposure. So it'll be full of a lot of teams from lower ranked countries. Either way, there will now be another competition to watch on a Thursday night, as the kickoff times have been stated to be at the same time as the Europa League, meaning it won't affect the Champions League. The only way it'll affect it is basically there's a relegation system mid-season, much like there is between the Europa League and the Champions League. If you finish 3rd in the Champions League, you head down to the Europa League knockout stages. If you're going to finish third in the Europa League, then you'll head into the knockout stages of the Conference League as well. Of course, the winners of that competition will get a spot for the Europa League next year, and it all sounds very, very confusing at the moment, so I guess we'll have to wait until next year to see who's in it. So now on to the rest of the day's news/transfer news, where David Beckham is in talks with former Real Madrid teammate and former Real Madrid manager Santiago Solari about taking over as manager at Inter Miami FC, who start in the MLS next season. Elsewhere, Jurgen Klopp thinks that the next Liverpool manager should be Steven Gerrard. Lionel Messi was taken off just as a precaution at half-time last night against Villarreal, so there isn't too much to worry about in terms of his injury concern. And lastly but not least, with Sergio Ramos' contract dispute at Real Madrid, he said it could all be sorted in 5 minutes if Real Madrid just sit down and talk it through with him. So lastly but not least, we come to this week's great debate. Every Wednesday, the guys from the OneFootball newsroom put a question to you, which you can find all their answers in the article in the app. But they want to know in the comment section down below, as do I, who would make your team of the year? We mentioned yesterday that the FIFA team of the year was a little bit shocking and no one really knows what the criteria is, so this is where you guys can have your say. As for me, well, there's no restrictions on any of it, much like last week's great debate where we were picking players only one from each team. But for the best team of the year, and this is the players who I think have played the best and won the most, I'm going to go for Alisson in goal, a back four of Kimmich, Van Dijk, De Ligt and Robertson. There's a midfield of Kante alongside Frenkie de Jong, Lionel Messi in that number 10 role, with Mbappe as a striker, supported by Eden Hazard and Raheem Sterling. So that's all from me for today. Make sure you let me know your thoughts on the great debate and all of the rest of the day's daily news in the comment section down below, while smashing the like button and also clicking here or here to check out all of the other videos we've got going on OneFootball. But until next time, I will see you guys later.